Good evening. I'd like to call to order the public meeting for the Upper Gwynedd Township Board of Commissioners for September 14th, 2020. Before we do the pledge, I'd like to remind everybody that anything on our agenda, if you're looking at the agenda online, that's in blue. If you click on that, you'll be able to follow along because we do have a lot of blue items on our agenda for this evening. So with that, if we can all stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag
to the flag of the United States of America,
and to which it stands
one
one
nation
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is item number 3, if you're following along, and that will be the roll call. Ms. Logan?
Liz McNaney, President.
Here.
Denise Hall, Vice President.
Here.
Martha Similaro, Commissioner.
Here.
Catherine Carter, Commissioner.
Present.
Ruth Damsker, Commissioner. Sandra Zadell, Township Manager.
I'm here.
Megan Weaver, Assistant Township Manager.
Here.
Lauren Gallagher, Township Solicitor.
Here.
Isaac Kessler, Township Engineer.
Here.
David Duffy, Chief of Police.
Here.
David Brill, Finance Director.
Here.
Van Reeker, Zoning Officer.
Here.
You're just missing Ruth at this time.
Okay. So the gang's all almost here. Great. All right. Moving right along, item number 5 is public comment and concerns. Erica, I guess it's you. Do we have any public comments to be heard tonight?
We have no public, we have public comment, but not for this agenda item.
Okay, thank you. So moving along, item number 6, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Hull. Oh, wait, I skipped one. I'm sorry. Did you see that? I skipped number 4. Sorry. Executive session. I need to announce it and I'll turn it over to Lauren. I apologize.
Not a problem. The board did meet in executive session on August 10th to discuss items of personnel, on August 26th to discuss matters of collective bargaining and potential litigation, and September 1st to discuss matters of personnel, collective bargaining, and potential litigation.
Thank you. I apologize for almost forgetting that very important part of our meeting. So with that, I will turn it over to Commissioner Hall.
Commissioner Hall, I'm sorry, before you start, I just want to confirm with Foster Digital that our visitors that are going to be presenting for Tesla are here and in our meeting room. So let's just pause for a moment and confirm that with Erica. This would be for item number 6, the public hearing.
Hi, this is David. I'm doing the moderating and bringing people in.
Great.
We do not have anyone in for Tesla right now at this time. We have not received anyone in our waiting room right now for Tesla.
Okay. Commissioners, let's move on to item number 10. And Megan, could you handle that Tesla situation?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, would you need me for this public hearing ordinance 2020-06?
No, just for the
No.
commissioners.
Yeah, but Mark, we'd like you to stay in this meeting room just in case we revisit the Tesla issue. So if you could stay in, that would be great.
Perfect, I will do that, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I needed to suspend the public meeting to do these public hearings. So we're putting the Tesla one on hold and we're moving to 10, which is a public hearing on ordinance 2020-06.
Liz,
Yes,
Liz, we didn't do number 5, public comments.
yeah, I did. We didn't have any.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there
I
was,
thought that was about Tesla.
no, we did that. There was no public comment. I just skipped the executive session, that's all, but we're back on track.
Okay.
Now I'm all thrown off again. We're skipping number 6 and moving to 10. So with that, we'll continue on, and I'll turn it over for a brief explanation by Lauren Gallagher, our solicitor.
Thank you. This is a public hearing to take comment on ordinance 2020-06, which would create Chapter 20, the Human Relations Commission. That provides for the creation of the Upper Gwynedd Township Human Relations Commission. T1 for exhibits will be a copy of the draft ordinance of 2020-06. T2 will be the proof of publication for the legal advertisement dated September 1st, 2020. After this was advertised, there are some minor changes which do not require re-advertising. So if the board is amenable, the discussion should revolve around the amended ordinance, which if in section 20-3 in definitions to the definition of discrimination, after public accommodations, the following language was added: employment, public accommodations, publicly offered commercial property or housing accommodations. The definition of gender identity or expression was changed to include non-binary and intersex. And the definition of public accommodation was changed to mirror the definition that is in the Human Relations Statute. And the board composition was changed from 4 members to 5 members. Other than that, everything remained the same in the draft ordinance. And as said, this would create a Human Relations Commission, which would be able to hear complaints within the township to help try and mediate some complaints that may arise.
It's a 5-member board, as you said, consisting of residents and business owners. And it's a commission to deal with the local concerns before they would be taken up any further. So it's a local concern group, which I really thought was good. There are a lot of townships around here, municipalities. Lansdale has one and North Wales has one too. Both Commissioner Hall and I attended some North Wales Borough meetings when they were adopting theirs. We learned a lot from them. And I can say that adopting this ordinance is something that was important for all of us, all the commissioners. We all talked about it when we campaigned, when I was going to say a few years ago. So this is nice that this is coming to, because it's important to all of us. So with that, get back to my notes. I can request public comment for ordinance 2020-06. Do we have any?
We have no public comment.
Okay, so with that, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'm sorry, oh, you're right. There's no public comment on this one. Sorry, I got confused.
Yeah, I just asked for it. I know we're all a little out of sync here.
Excuse me, just so you mentioned we're out of sync. Was that 2007 or that was
2006, item number 10 on the agenda?
Okay, all right, sorry, thank you.
I think we should start all over again. What do you, no, I'm just kidding. So there's no public comment. So is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker, you're muted, so we can't hear your
Aye.
votes, and we're going to need to hear that vote.
Aye.
Aye. Motion, all in favor, aye. All opposed? The ayes so have it. Moving on to item number 13, which will be a motion to approve the ordinance 2020-06, the Human Relations Commission. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a
Motion.
second? We have a second by Commissioner
Second.
Carter. Okay. All in favor? Or wait, I'm sorry, public comment? No? Additional board comment? Catherine, did you have additional board comment? No?
No, I was getting ready to say aye.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes so have it. Should we move on? Do we have any updates or should we move on to 14?
We have the Tesla gentleman in. Would you like to bring him in?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay.
So if you're following along, we're moving back to the agenda to item number 6. Want me to turn it over to you again, Denise?
Yes, I'll take it this time.
Okay.
The purpose of this hearing is to hear comment pursuant to the consideration of an application for conditional use approval for the property located at 593 DeKalb Pike. That's Wawa number 157, North Wales, Upper Gwynedd Township, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. This application has been made by property owner Wawa Incorporated for the purpose of constructing a charging station for electric vehicles, including charging posts and related equipment on the property as required for the Tesla supercharger station at Wawa number 157. Lauren, would you like to give us a brief explanation before you turn it over to Tesla?
Certainly. As Commissioner Hull stated, this is a conditional use hearing. The property address is 593 DeKalb Pike, North Wales. Tax parcel number is 5600-092-95009. This is an application requesting conditional use to install and operate a Tesla branded electric vehicle supercharging post with approved parking with the existing Wawa food market and fueling station, both of which are located in the commercial zoning district. This hearing has been advertised consistent with the municipality's planning code, and I'll run through some exhibits and then I will turn it over to the applicant to present his testimony. T1 will be the application for conditional use. T2 will be the letter of authorization. T3 will be the proof of publication of the legal advertisement, which ran on August 27th and September 2nd, 2020. T4 will be the Upper Gwynedd Township Planning Commission review letter. T5 will be the verification of posting notice. T6 will be the plan set. And T7 will be the Upper Gwynedd Township engineer review letter. And with that, I will turn it over to the applicant to present his case.
Yes, good evening. I'm Henry. I'm with Tesla, and apologies in advance for my cat, which is, you might hear him in the background. Can't do anything about that.
Are you going to need to be sworn? Are you an attorney or are you just representing Tesla?
I am just a representative for Tesla.
Okay, you have no attorney for yourself?
We do not have an attorney for this hearing.
Raise your right hand. And solemnly swear testimony about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Can you state your full name?
Henry Misas.
Can you spell that?
Yeah, Henry, Henry, Misas is Misas.
Thank you. Please continue.
Okay. Yep. So thanks for having me. I just want to give, a couple of, brief points about the project. So we are proposing a supercharger a station at the Wawa at North Wales. This is an EV charging project. It's a fast charging project. We basically have a network of these charging stations, and they help our customers travel and basically not have to worry about where they're going, due to the range of the cars. So this is essentially a really good combination with Wawa, because they already have the infrastructure for the gas station and the convenience store. And so our charging is just the convenience for the customers to come in, plug in, charge for, 20 minutes or so, go to the convenience store and, you know, grab something to eat, go to the bathroom, and then come back to the car, unplug, and then, you know, drive away. We have about 2,000 of these stations all over the world. Not that many in Pennsylvania, so this was a really important dot on the map for us. And our customers really want this. You can see in forums, and you can see that there's a lot of Tesla owners in the area and Tesla owners that travel through this area. So it's just a very important point in our network. We're trying to move as fast as we can. Our mission is to accelerate the transition to sustainable energy, and this network superchargers is a big part of that. The way these things work, we have, you know, we work with the utility to provide power. It's essentially all electrical equipment. So we work with the utility, they put a transformer, we put a switchgear and these cabinets that do the power conversion. And then from those pieces of equipment, the chargers plug into the cars and, you know, convert power from AC to DC. And it's all very safe. It's all, you know, it's been proven all over the world, but it's an engineering fail-safe a system where the car plugs in. When it plugs in, the system automatically makes a bunch of checks to make sure there's no safety issues. While the car is plugged in, you cannot drive the car. So everything happens automatically. Even the charge, the billing happens automatically. So there's no need to pull out your credit card and you know, and punch in a code or anything. It just happens automatically. It talks to the Tesla network. So yeah, it's a very, you know, it's very seamless and simplistic. And, you know, electrical equipment, it's typical for us. We install these things in about a month or so. And I'm sorry, give me 1 second. Yeah, it's very simple for us. About a month of installation, then we work with the utility to get power, and, you know, and our customers know what to do when this happens. The way that our customers know where these stations are, when they're driving the car automatically routes them to these stations and tells them, you know, where the dots are on the map. You can see it on a big screen on the car, and you can navigate to them fairly easily.
So yeah. Henry, obviously, thank you for that information. The township does have several conditional use criteria set forth in its ordinance. Have you had a chance to review those?
Uses for the station, for the project?
Right. So the conditional use is required because it's going to be a second principal use on the property. And in order to have that, there's several conditional use requirements in the ordinance. So if you'd like, we can just kind of go through those one by one, and you can explain to the township how this application meets those criteria.
Yeah, that would work.
Okay. So the first one is that the lot is comprised of sufficient area for the internal parking and circulation of employees, contractors, suppliers, patrons, guests, and customers.
So that's one of the uses. Yes, I mean, this, you know, this station is open to the public. You know, it's. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the condition again?
Sure. It's that the lot has sufficient parking and circulation for all of the people that are going to be on site. The township wants to make sure that the parking is adequate.
Got it. Yes, this parking lot has, I believe, I have the accurate number here, but it's something like 90 stalls in the parking lot, and they're required to have around 40. And so this has ample parking, you know, much more than what's required. So we meet that condition.
Okay. And I guess the township engineer has reviewed this plan. Isaac, are you able to speak to that?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Henry. Did you want to mention something?
No, Isaac, I was just going to say we have spoken about this. We had a couple of items that we wanted to address. which we did. One of them was putting the equipment outside of the storm basin, so there's no, issues with water. And the second was just traffic flow. This was a big item that we had to address, given the nature of these charging stations where there's cars parking in and out. We just wanted to make sure that there's pedestrian safety. So we're putting a couple of slow down signs, and we're also striping across the driveway to just make sure cars slow down.
Yeah, thanks, Henry. I'll just add a bit to the discussion, and most of the discussion was had at the August 12th Planning Commission meeting. And it was not so much an issue with the use of the charging stations being at the site, but really the discussion was focused on the pedestrian safety of folks that plugged in, getting to the Wawa store for that, the time, the 20 minutes or so that they're there. So where the parking stalls are proposed, where they're situated, would be on the other side of the gas canopy that's currently there. So they would plug in and walk through the gas canopy area to the store. So the main topic of discussion was, is that the most logical and best place for those parking stalls? Were any other spots considered? And then resulting in that was kind of the best place for it. We wanted to make sure that there was some signage, some pavement marking, so folks were just aware of some more pedestrian movements there. We want to make sure that walking through that gas canopy were provided some extra safety measures to make sure that was a safe movement. So Henry, if you wanted to just mention from that Planning Commission discussion, I guess the one item of kind of how we bound up where they are in the parking lot there, and from there, the use would be recommended for tonight for the conditional use with the site.
Sure. So it's a big parking lot. There's, I guess, a few ways you can decide where the chargers are going to go. But, after discussions with Wawa, they wanted us to be in the location that we have selected because it's farthest away from the convenience store. So it's less desirable parking. People use it less. In a way, that's a good thing because there's less traffic already in that area. So it's good for the purpose that we're discussing here. And we considered, a location sort of on the back of the property. But, after looking at traffic flows there and where people usually park and delivery trucks, we decided that's not as good of an option as where we have it now. So yeah, that's how we came about this location.
And we've provided some comments to the applicant for the plan set that would, depending on the decision tonight by the board, the plans would then go to the township staff and consultants for an actual permit plan set. So those plans would be gone through. Any comments we'd work with the applicant on, that being a follow-up to the decision on the use itself tonight.
Okay, and one of the other conditions for this type of use kind of ties into that the total required parking on the lot shall be the sum of each use's individual parking requirements in accordance with section 195.28, except that the parking requirements for C commercial lots developed with 5 or more establishments shall comply with a different section. Isaac, were you able to confirm that they comply with that?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Another condition is the lot is comprised of sufficient area for the operation of the requested principal uses. So Henry, are you able to speak to that?
I don't have numbers to support that because I was assuming this property is fairly large. It's a gas station, and adding some charges would be such a small use compared to what the lot is. But from where we stand, it looks like there's ample area in this lot for that use, for the two uses combined.
And the multiple principal uses are compatible and will not conflict.
Yes, I think it's actually, they're actually fairly complementary uses. Right now, this is a gas station with a convenience store. We're adding another means of, you know, quote unquote, fueling your car. So it's not that much different, and we're just adding to the, you know, we're adding a use that definitely makes sense with the existing use from that perspective.
Okay. And obviously no residential use is proposed here.
Correct.
Okay. And then the township code also sets forth at section 195-27.1 several factors that the board requires when considering a conditional use application, including the suitability of the property for the use desired, to assure itself that the proposed change is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of this chapter. Determine that the proposed change shall not substantially injure or detract from the use of the neighboring property or from the character of the neighborhood, and that the use of the property adjacent to the area included in the proposed change or plan is adequately safeguarded. Determine that the proposed change will serve the best interests of the township, convenience of the community, and the public welfare. Consider the effect of the proposed change upon the logical, efficient, and economical extension of public service and facilities such as public water, sewers, police and fire protection, and public schools. And finally, consider the suitability of the proposed use with respect to whether the use would materially increase traffic congestion on the streets and assure adequate access arrangements in order to protect streets from undue congestion and hazard. Is there anything that you would like to add with those considerations in mind?
I don't have anything, you know, we definitely are not in conflict with any of that. And in fact, I think this definitely adds to the public benefit by providing a much needed EV charging solution for the area, which promotes more charging, more electric cars, which is a net benefit to society.
Great, thank you, Henry. I just have a couple questions just to clarify. So we are saying back to the concern with the pedestrians, the additional pedestrians, we will now be coming into the Wawa to do their charging, and they're more likely to be looking for something to do while their car is charging. So they will be walking around that area more. And we've talked about how the traffic came up with the Planning Commission, how that traffic is a problem there. People don't always watch. So we're going to do the signs, and we're going to do the marking on the pavement. So I believe you said, Isaac, that we're going to do some kind of permit structure so that our coding officer will follow up with that. Is that how that's going to work?
Yeah, so tonight's agenda item is for the conditional use to have the charging stations permitted to be on the site.
Okay.
The plan that Tesla is putting together, which Henry had mentioned, had included some equipment close to where the stormwater basin was. We're working with them to make sure that's located in the best location. Things of that nature, grading, striping, signage, that would go through the typical process with the township review that any site addition or grading would go through.
That's good. That's great to know. And you are, Isaac, you are confident that there aren't going to be any issues with those charging stations being within 10 feet of that basin? You're not concerned with any of the water and with the electric? Like, we're not worried about that at all?
I don't believe so. Yes, the other side of the curb there, so when you pull into the stalls that are the ones proposed to be converted to the charging stations, the other side of the curb is some grass, and then it slopes down to the basin on site there. Water theoretically shouldn't be overtopping that. The utility structure that's put in for these charging stations, as is proposed, is made to be, able to withstand any kind of weather, environmental, things that come through. The equipment that's kind of housed in the cabinet that would be, I guess, running the charging stations, and Henry could maybe add some information of the equipment on there. But that we're working with the applicant to make sure that's placed in an area that just doesn't obstruct the capacity of the basin and the design for the water that's supposed to hold there. So that's the main effort there. It's not too much of a concern of it being in the grass area there.
Okay, just because that was the reason that they couldn't be placed on the other side. One of the reasons they couldn't be placed on the other side of the store, of the convenience store, was because of that basin. They would have conflicted with that basin and what they had to place underground. Wasn't that correct?
There is an underground storage basin on the other side, correct? The parking area that's on the other side of the Wawa has a significant underground storage, and that would conflict with the utilities that they would need to put in to connect with what they would have for the charging stations. So where they have the proposed 8 stalls now is next to the above ground, sunken in grass stormwater area. The utilities though are shown to come in an area that's clear to put them in underground there.
Okay, great. And I just had one more thing, Henry. You said that you didn't have all the numbers with you. You didn't come prepared with all the numbers today because you didn't realize that you would need them, because it just seems like a big enough gas station, which I understand that, but we do want to be exact because this is official. This is a government decision. Is there any way that you can get us those numbers eventually?
Yeah, sure.
Perhaps with the permit structure and with when we get the grading and whatnot.
Yeah, we
have those on record. Is that something you're capable of doing?
Yeah, in fact, I might have it in one of the drawings, but
okay,
we will get back to you. I'll talk with our engineer and.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I'm confident it's a big enough gas station. It's a big enough area that there won't be a problem, but we do like to just double check that and follow all of our codes with that.
And Commissioner Hull, if the board is so inclined, it would be appropriate to request that the applicant provide that information along with, if there's any other information that the board wants, and bring back at the next meeting. This can be continued to the next meeting to finalize those details.
I think that might be a good idea if we could do that. So we would officially approve it at the next meeting, at the next board meeting?
Correct.
I think that would be a great idea.
If the appropriate details are provided.
Correct.
Correct. Commissioner Similaro?
Yeah, I have a question, Henry. You're going to install 8 charging stations, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
In your experience, have you ever had the experience of, after you install these 8 charging stations, let's say a year later, you have to go back and request more charging stations? So is there a possibility that a year from now or a year and a half from now, you're going to come back and request another 5 or 6 charging stations at the same location?
It's something that we have to do in other locations, but with Wawa, our contracts are standardized around 8 charging stations. And what we would do with Wawa is we wouldn't touch this station. We wouldn't expand this one, and we would look for other locations.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Sure.
Does anyone else, any other board members have a question? Have any questions? Are there any public comments?
There are no public comments. I know Megan has a write-in, correct?
Yes, that's correct. We received an email from a Timothy Lucas at 52 Park Road, and his comment was that he's in full support of Tesla's application for an 8-stall supercharger at Wawa on Route 63. Electric cars are the future, and he's glad to see Upper Gwynedd Township participating. And then he asked, can we get superchargers at Parkside Place?
Okay, Timothy, we'll take that into consideration. Thank you for your support.
No comment.
Van, did you want to comment?
Thank you, Denise. Very quickly, I just wanted to summarize for the board so there was an understanding of the magnitude. So to Martha's point, there's 8 charging stations. The proposal consists of 8 charging stations, all of which would occupy existing parking spaces. The configuration of the parking spaces would not be modified. Bollards are installed. to protect the charging stations. They look like small gas pumps, and there will be 8 of them positioned to the rear of the 8 spaces. In addition, there are 2 small supercharger cabinets and 1 larger, but the height of perhaps 6 or 8 feet, that would create the energy, transfer to the supercharger, and then into the individual stations. It occupies a total of about 2,000 square feet, which is about 2.5% of the site. That's what we're dealing with. And I thought that statistics, that data would be an important part of when we're talking about a new use, a blended use, how it would work. The reason, I think I mentioned this in our prior discussion before the record, the reason this is the second use is I'd say Tesla branded only power source, so that only Tesla vehicles could use the 8 charging stations, and because of that, it's not available to Lexus or Lincoln or other vehicles. So because it's Tesla only, and it's okay, but because it's Tesla only, it becomes in my view, and I think it's very defensible, a second and discrete use. And that's the reason they're before you tonight for the second use on the subject property. That's really all I had to add, unless you have additional questions.
Thank you, Van. That's great. So if we have no more public comments or additional comments, I would like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Well, Commissioner, if the inclination of the board is going to be to bring this back in 2 weeks, and the public hearing could stay open until that comes back. And it could just be adjourned back into the regular meeting. If that's the inclination, if the board's ready to take a vote or close the record, that's fine too.
Oh, I thought we had to close it for the evening. I didn't know it could just stay open for 2 weeks. Okay, great. We can stay open for 2 weeks.
You just adjourn it back into the regular meeting.
Okay, great. All right, lovely. So I would like to make a motion to continue the conditional use application to our next public meeting on September 29. Is that the correct way to word that, Lauren?
It is, yes.
Okay.
So moved.
So we have a motion. We have a second. Is that correct? So all in favor of continuing this until our next meeting? Is that right?
Yes, but you do need public comment for the motion.
Oh, is there any public comments then for the motion to continue this until our next board meeting?
There's no public comment.
Okay. So all in favor of continuing it?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes so have it. Okay.
And then the board would adjourn back into the regular meeting.
We actually have another hearing though.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we do.
Lauren, would you need me any further then? This is the court reporter.
Nope, that's it for the evening.
Okay, and will you need me also for the 29th then?
Deanna is nodding her head, so yes.
Got that. I'll put on my record.
I emailed
Have a
you.
good evening, everyone. Okay, have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks, Mark.
Bye-bye.
Henry, our staff will be in touch with your staff to walk you through the process.
Okay, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Okay.
Thank you, Henry.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next public hearing is for ordinance 2020-07. The purpose of this hearing is to hear comment pursuant to ordinance 2020-07, amending the Upper Gwynedd Township Code of Ordinances at Chapter 63, Building Construction, Section 63-3, Board of Appeals. Lauren, can you give us a brief explanation about this and the exhibits?
Certainly. So this is an ordinance, if the board will recall at the last meeting, the township has entered into an intergovernmental agreement with the Borough of North Wales regarding having a joint Board of Appeals. So what this will do is modify the township's ordinance consistent with that to allow the township to participate in that intergovernmental arrangement. The township already has 3 existing board members on its Board of Code Appeals, so they will continue their terms serving on the intergovernmental board in that capacity until their terms expire. This evening, there are two exhibits. The first is a copy of Ordinance 2020-07, and T2 is proof of publication of legal advertisement, which ran on September 1st, 2020.
Thank you, Lauren. Do any board members have any comments? No? Are there any public comments?
No public comment.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
We have a motion to close.
I have
Do we
a,
have a second?
I have a question.
Oh, sorry. I didn't see your hand before. Yes, Catherine.
Lauren? The section that's crossed out under section 1
Yes.
and the reverbiage, the rewording of the section, can you explain that a little bit more?
Certainly.
It wasn't really clear as to a Board of Appeals shall be established by the board commission.
Right. So the prior language required a 5-member board that was only going to serve Upper Gwynedd Township. What this language does is allow the township flexibility to either continue to have a board of 5 that only serves Upper Gwynedd, or to enter into an intergovernmental agreement, in this case with North Wales or with any other entity, without having to make further changes to the ordinance. So this allows the township to go whichever route it wants. And then the intergovernmental agreement with North Wales was approved at the last meeting.
I remember that part. So when it says, if at any time enforcement and administration is undertaken jointly with one or more other municipalities, that's what you're talking about?
Correct, right.
Okay.
And with the borough and the township both passed resolutions authorizing the intergovernmental agreement.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Carter. And so we had no public comment. I would like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
So
We have a motion to close. We have a second to close it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Who seconded the motion?
Commissioner Carter.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2020-07.
So moved.
So we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 And it looks like Commissioner Damsker is muted, and I'm not sure if she's frozen. I did not see her raise her hand.
It does appear that she's frozen. So Deanna, for this vote, I would just record it 4 ayes.
Okay. The ayes so have it then. At least 4 of the ayes have it. Moving right along, for department reports, I'll turn it over to Dave Brill at this point. We're on number 18 on the agenda.
And for Foster Digital, for the moderator, this is the PowerPoint presentation.
Yes.
Great, we'll bring that up.
Great, thank you. And Dave, just so you know, I don't think you've done a presentation in this format before. You will just have to ask them to change the slide for you.
Oh, okay, thank you. What I'd like to cover is an update to our forecast that we did back in April of this year. And if we could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Back in April, let me move this, I'm sorry. Okay. Back in April, late March, April, we came to realize that COVID-19 was real, and it was going to severely impact our community, both economically as well as a social cost. And when we came to that realization, the township manager and commissioners asked us to do a forecast, and we did a forecast. And that forecast showed that our revenues for the year were anticipated to be down 13%, almost $2 million. And that's substantial because our budget's basically around 13, 14 million. To mitigate this potential shortfall in money coming in to pay our bills, the commissioners and the township manager directed the department managers to postpone items in their budget that were identified that were discretionary, that we could do without in the short term and keep our services at a high level to be able to understand over the next couple of months on where our revenues will be. And the managers did that. So now we're 5 months later, and we just updated our forecast. And I'd like to cover the main points on that. And after our next step, now that the forecast is done, is we've started our budgeting process. And for 2021, the managers are working on it on their 3-year, potentially 10-year capital plan, depending on their department and what their operating needs are. And we'll be meeting with each liaison, each board member in their area to cover what their thoughts are and how they think the plan is going. And then we'll come to the full board sometime next month, and 3 meetings are scheduled. We might not need the third one, but I'm sure we're going to need the first 2. If we could go to the next slide, please. For revenue. So the township's the same as just your home. You have money coming in, your paycheck, and you have money going out, you pay your bills. And our money coming in is our revenue. Our current forecast for this year is still down. So we're forecasting that our revenues are going to be $605,000 less than we budgeted. So that's still a substantial number, but it is a lot better than we forecasted back in April. So our forecast right now, even though it's down 600,000 from our budget, it's better than what we thought it would be by $1.3 million. So that's a lot better than we thought just 6 months ago. And I'd like to cover a few of the points that made that happen. The first thing is most of our revenue is local services tax and earned income tax. And that's tax that we receive from people that work in our township. And right now, our forecast for the year is higher than we originally thought back in April by just over 400,000. Back in April, we were projecting the year April through December to be 12.5% down from our run rate and our budget. And we're experiencing it being down, but it's down 6.2%. So it's about half of what we thought. And then that translates into not as bad a picture as we thought going back to April. It's still down. It's stable. So those are good things. The stable is a good thing, and we're hoping it recovers. And so it's higher than what we originally forecast back in April by 400,000. Construction permit fees are higher by $599,000. That is amazing. Both commercial and residential activity is through the roof. A lot of it is commercial. A lot of it is work being done at the Merck facility in their ongoing maintaining their facility and improving what they're able to provide on that facility. Its activity is the highest level it's been in the last 10 years. I have a chart that I keep, and I keep a 10-year history. And the highest year prior to this was a couple of years ago, and I think it was right around $600,000 for the year. This year we're looking like we're going to end up at around 800,000. So it's a very high year. People are taking advantage of getting some things done at their house. Businesses are taking advantage of lower interest rates to get things done on what they have planned. And Mark is moving ahead and investing in the township, which ends up benefiting the community with higher revenues and monies that we have available to provide services. Land development fees are higher by 147,000. I just want to make a note there. This money is restricted, so the board has it available to spend. We have it in the bank, but it is restricted to road improvement projects in the township. So we'll be talking about that in the budget process that we're going to be looking at in 2021. Business owner donation is higher by $75,000. Extremely generous donation by a township local small business owner happened earlier in the year that is just awesome. And he gave the township $75,000 to have available to do the township's work, and so that's incredible. And the last one there is state grants. We anticipated back in April that the state was going to be very tight on money, and I think they are. And I think until they figure out what's going to happen at the federal level, it's going to continue to be bad there. But we did get the money that we anticipated this year. So we thought it was going to be delayed by a year or two until things improved at the state level, but they didn't delay it. So they sent us the check and we have it in the bank. So that's all good. So if there's no questions on revenue, are there any questions on revenue? Hearing none, if you could go to the next slide, please. The next slide covers spending, and this is a big area. It covers all the townships in the general fund. And our spending right now is expected to be $1,025,000 lower than budget. So that's very substantial. And it's $566,000 higher than April. So this is actually going the other way. This is more spending in our forecast that we just completed versus our forecast we did in April. I'd like to cover the main drivers behind this. One thing that happened is we actually have some savings of about $75,000, and that's within the police area. We have an open position that the chief is working to fill, and hopefully it'll be filled by year end. But because that position is not filled and it was in the forecast and budget, we have this positive variance until it is filled. And we don't see an increase in overtime. So that's an incredible job by the chief, deputy chief, and the team there to be able to do that without seeing a dramatic increase. On cost increases, we have $150,000 that we have higher in our cost that we didn't anticipate. One item is a program that we have in our current forecast to provide monies to have a one-time vacation buyback of, and this is for all employees, that allows the township to manage the staffing because people have vacations accrued and they haven't taken it because of COVID, as well as the employees. They don't know what to do with their time now since the year's almost over, and they're taking time, but there's quite a bit to be able to schedule by the end of the year. So this is allowing to be able to better manage that, both from a township perspective on keeping services high, as well as an employee perspective of being able to manage their time and not lose it. And part of the program is to allow buyback, provided that you also are carrying some time over to next year, but using it by June. Next one is COVID-19. There's some expenses that we have, approximately $65,000 that are directly related to COVID, and that's masks, sanitizing equipment, and gels and cleaning supplies and barriers and whatnot. That each individual item seems like it's a small purchase, but it's grown to $65,000. Now we are applying to PEMA to recover part of that money, if not all that money. We don't know what we'll receive through that process. I don't think we'll get all the money we spend. They have a limited guidelines on what they will reimburse. Like they'll reimburse for the sanitizer, but I know they won't reimburse for like the barriers that we put up. So we'll see as that flushes out. We also have an increase in cost in legal. We have personnel matters that we need additional support on. COVID-19 that we've been talking about with the changes. Early on, it seemed like it was daily going on with that, as well as ordinance activity. There's a lot of ordinance activity that the board is getting done, and which is awesome. And that drives our legal fees since we need legal support to get that done correctly. Moving on to the next category is previously postponed discretionary items back in April. We've added back to be spent by the end of the year. So based on this current forecast, I went over this with Sandra and Liz, our president, and right now the forecast is to put back in the plans for the end of the year, $500,000 of things that we delayed, and we don't want to delay them any longer. Now that we see that our revenues aren't as bad as we thought they would be. And those items roughly are in information technology. There's 54,000 for wastewater modeling and PC replacements, which I'm very happy to see the PC replacements back in there because I really hate to delay those too long. There's facilities, $81,000. There's some building repairs that we like to do and renovations at the admin building, as well as additional storage space for the public works area that's much needed. Police, there's $16,000 to actually buy additional in-car and body-worn cameras. So that's a program that's been going on for a couple of years. The chief has had success with it, and this is something that we like to continue on. So we could actually get those purchases in by the end of the year and spend that money then. Code and zoning, the $46,000, that's really to provide professional services in support of all that activity that I talked about on the other slide. We have building permits that are constant stream, and we need support on getting those handled correctly. Public works, $75,000. This is some money to initiate the township-wide storm sewer planning to look at the whole township as a whole and figure out what do we do from a high level view and then plan it out over the next number of years to get it addressed. As well as traffic signal detection upgrades. We've been doing that yearly to keep improving the traffic signals, and this is being added back to be able to keep that program going. Park and rec activities, $77,000 for which the department's been doing an outstanding job, and this is monies to do some things before the end of the year. The carnival fireworks that we just had, the Fall Fest, Summer Concert Series, and the winter event. That's adding that money back in to be able to do those events. And again, in park and rec projects, $107,000 to do landscaping, court repairs. Those courts are used constantly. Even though COVID, we still get quite a bit of use after we open them up again, and to initiate a down payment on replacing a dump truck that will take delivery in next year. We had it in the budget to do it this year, and that's $110,000. But right now in the forecast, we have $25,000 to get that initiated and get a deposit down on it. Does anyone have any questions about this slide? Okay, so the main takeaway here is that our spending is expected to be $1 million less than we budgeted. Our revenue is expected to be about $600,000 less than budgeted. So we still have a revenue shortfall, but we have a savings with our spending being less. So that's good. The bad thing is we have a lot of these things have to roll into another year. So if we could go to the next slide, please. The next slide is my last slide, and it talks about the surplus deficit. So that's taking the revenue, subtracting the spending, and you either have excess, which is a surplus, or you have a shortfall, which is a deficit. Our surplus or deficit for the year is now expected to be a surplus of just over 500,000. And that's the result, as I mentioned before, of our revenues being down, but our spending is being really contained, even though we're adding some things back into our spending to get stuff done. So that's what's driving that. Our revenue is expected to be, again, $600,000 lower than budget, and that's primarily EIT, interest income, and park and rec activity fees. So that's the main thing that's we're short on right now. And the lion's share of that is the earned income tax. Better than our April forecast. That's just making a note that I just covered that on the other slides. Our spending is expected to be $1,025,000 lower than budget. And this is primarily from postponing items, like I mentioned, that are not being committed this year, but we will talk about in our 2021 budget meetings that are happening now and going to continue next month. The first item is a fire marshal. This year we had a budget at $84,000 to have a full-time fire marshal, and that's been totally postponed. Public Works, $655,000, so that's the lion's share. That includes adding staffing, one position, expanding or developing that township-wide stormwater plan, which included $80,000 with engineering support to do it and $200,000 to start getting the work done, as well as road resurfacing with Raleigh-Mac. So that work on road repairs using microsurfacing is not being planned this year. And then we'll have to consider what we're going to do next year with regard to microsurfacing. Park and rec activities, $154,000. That's various activities and programs that were canceled or modified this year that we didn't spend the money. So we did a lot of things online, or we did other things. And so a lot of programs just didn't happen. So that's part of the reason why our spending is down. Park and Rec admin, $147,000. Our temporary staffing's down because our activities were down. The war memorial that we had in the budget is not going to be executed this year, so that'll be considered in our 2021 planning, as well as the dump truck replacement will be part of our carryover into 2021. Health insurance, we had about $50,000 in savings. We, if everyone recalls, back in, it was April, May, we looked at renewing our contracts with our liability, property liability, our auto insurance policies, our workers' comp, and or expand that coverage with our health insurance provider, Delaware Valley Trust. And when we did the work and the presentation, the board decided to go with the trust, which is an awesome idea. And through that, we actually save money on our health insurance because they give you a discount if you participate in more than one of their insurance types of insurance. So that's good news. And the last bullet point is $566,000 higher than our April forecast, and we did talk about that. So the main takeaway is we have, if we could go to the next slide, please. We're in better shape now financially than at the beginning of the year. And that's because of what the board did and the township manager did in postponing discretionary spending. If we didn't do that, we would be in a difficult situation trying to figure out what we're going to do. Revenues since March are still down. So we have to remember that. We still have a concern on that for the rest of the year and into next year. And we just need a plan for that through this budget process. We'll need everyone's head to think about what we need to do. And we had some good news revenue events, which is awesome. And I love them. I hope they repeat themselves somehow. But if they don't, I wouldn't count on them because a lot of the things I talked about that were seem are like one-time things that won't happen again. But that's that. So again, next on our next steps is to finish this year out, so we can't let our spending go crazy. Just do the things that are approved to be spent on, and plan 2021, prudently. And that's all I have. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
I'm ready to finish out the year.
Yeah, same. Got that right.
Dave, thanks for all this. There's a lot of information for us to consider here and go over. And you gave credit to us and to Sandra, but we have to give you credit as well, because you play a major part in this. And when we sat down in April, and we were cutting things and whatever, it was under your direction and your guidance. So we appreciate that. All your input with that.
No, thank you.
Did anybody else have any questions for Dave? No, we're good. Okay. Let me just get back onto our agenda. Okay. So Dave, thank you again with that. Next, moving right along to item number 19 on the agenda. We'll turn it over to Van.
Thanks, Liz. A couple things, the first two of which are relevant for tonight's agenda. Zoning Hearing Board 20-07 WB Homes, AKA Jeppy, AKA Carmichael Associates. So that was a use variance that had been scheduled for the Zoning Hearing Board September 22nd, next Tuesday. As of 1 o'clock this afternoon, the applicant has requested an indefinite continuance to that hearing. So anyone on the call or listening in that had anticipated on calling and participating in next week's Zoning Hearing Board, we only had one item on the agenda, one appeal. That it will be, I expect it to be, there'd be no reason for it not to be, accepted for an indefinite continuance by the Zoning Hearing Board. And I would submit to you that that would also be relevant, Madam President, for item number 24, which is a future item relative to a vote or not on this application. I think that's been muted. I would suggest that the board consider tabling action on that until this particular applicant has resubmitted and we know what's going on. For the moment, there is no application, there is no hearing, there is no proposal until the applicant asks that there be one. So that's sort of new news on that item. 593 DeKalb Pike, you heard that. I don't need to elaborate. You'll reconsider that at your next meeting. State Street, Roosevelt Court, is interesting in that that is a second conditional use. You probably haven't had a conditional use hearing in 3 or 4 years. We're going to have 2 in 1 month. This is for Roosevelt Court, 9-lot subdivision. You might remember that this conditional use hearing is to, in effect, fix the plan of 9 lots, which the applicant has always agreed and has been generally accepted in concept by administration and by the board. The new ordinance amendment that was enacted earlier this year obligates the applicant to come back in, and we had indicated to the neighbors that this would be a part of the path toward land development. Before land development, the applicant comes back in and submits this concept plan and goes through a conditional use hearing, at which point the plan and relevant conditions of the plan would be fixed by you. So that would happen September 29th. All of the advertisement and so forth is underway on that. And then finally, just sort of an update, and we do this as well. Municipalities will alert adjoining municipalities of zoning hearing board applications that are relevant, that are believed to be relevant, typically along their boundaries. And we received one from Worcester for 2816 Morris Road. I went out and reviewed the site, and I had discussed this briefly with the Plan Review Committee. I just wanted you to know, in case you have calls from constituents or you have an interest. It's a request to continue a landscape business on a residential property of approximately 3 acres. It exists. The ownership is changing. And according to Worcester, in order to continue that operation, they would have to be heard and reevaluated by the zoning hearing board. I've talked to their manager, and they are of the opinion at the moment that their board will remain neutral, and that will be heard by their zoning hearing board. It is, for those of you that are interested, it's opposite Marsh Road, generally opposite the Blue Fox Drive retention basin. If you think about Blue Fox Drive, the loop cul-de-sac, there's a retention basin along Marsh Road. And then opposite Marsh Road, there's a farmhouse and some outbuildings behind it. That's the subject site. So our belief is that it would be of no measurable impact to Upper Gwynedd or Upper Gwynedd Township residents. I just wanted to give you an update about that. That's it from me. Do you have questions? Thanks.
Thank you, Van, for that report.
Excuse me, Liz. Hi, this is
Yes.
David. We had 3 people on the line for public comment for the 2070 zoning hearing board, the Jeppy property. So they will not be commenting tonight, correct?
They can still comment when we get to item number 27, even if the board decides to table
I
it.
think it's item number 24, Sandy.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay,
Yeah,
they came in
item
as
number 24.
Okay, they came in as 19, but okay, we'll move that to 24.
Yeah, they should be moved to 24.
All right, thank
Thanks,
you.
Van.
Thank you, Van. Next up on the agenda is item number 20, and that's for Isaac.
Thank you, Madam President. For the engineering report items this meeting, I wanted to touch on three highlighted ones here. September is the month that each year the annual report is put together for the DEP for our MS4 program. It's always a collaborative effort with township staff and different things that have happened throughout the year. So thank you to Sandra and to Megan and to all the staff that's helped to kind of gather all that together. We are working on getting that compiled, and we'll plan to submit to the DEP this month before the end of September here. With that, some activity that's going on for the next permit cycle, which will be reported in the next annual report, or some outfall sampling and screenings. And that's something that we progress each year to make sure that we're keeping an eye on the outfalls for stormwater throughout the township, making sure that if any trouble spots pop up, that they're being monitored, and we address that through our MS4 program. So that's currently the status of where we stand with our program. The second item I wanted to mention was Moyer Boulevard, realizing that currently it's still a bit bumpy out there, but I did want to report they finished pipe work and the trench restoration for the work they were doing out there. The trench restoration is paved back up to the roadway surface. It is a bit bumpy, but the plan is the next part is for the pavement work to be done, and with the goal of having it done this month. Moyer Boulevard, when they were working in it, it was discovered and also pretty known that the depth of the pavement there really doesn't go that far down. It's kind of inadequate for a roadway that's traveled that heavily, especially in the portion that has some truck traffic. So we're in discussions to see if there are some areas that we could repair some of the base underneath that top layer of pavement as well, to make sure when they do that top surface of pavement, it lasts as long as designed, and it's a road that can be in good condition for the foreseeable future. So the folks that live around there, we appreciate their patience. Just to give them an update tonight, we're looking to move forward with that pavement work, hopefully coming up here soon. And the last item I wanted to mention was the Haynes Run wastewater treatment plant work that we've been coordinating with township staff and Rebecca Mason at the treatment plant. There is some work being done by a contractor in the area where the stream was really cresting over into the treatment plant that led to a lot of the flooding there during that most recent heavy storm, tropical storm, I should say. And what we've done is we've met with them, with Ms. Mason at the treatment plant, and looked at ways that what they're doing can help in the short term, at least to improve the protection of the plant during events that would have the water rise up. Hopefully we won't see it up to that level anytime soon again, but at least it will add some protection there from water coming up that direction. And then what we're also looking at is to generate a scope for more of a long-term stream bank improvement of Haynes Run, kind of going upstream along the treatment plant property for just managing the water that really comes down there during those heavy events. So that's something that, working with staff, we're looking at possible grant funding and some stream bank improvements that could really improve the overall situation there heading into the future. So highlighting those three tonight. If there's any other questions from the board, I'd be happy to entertain.
I just want to add that we thought it was really important. I really thought it was important to get Isaac out there to look at that right away at the plant, just because we had such a huge loss. It just seems crazy to leave it unprotected when we know that now that's how it breached. So thank you for that work, Isaac. It's really important, and we look forward to seeing what you come up with. As I told Isaac, no pressure. He just has to fix like the huge flooding problem.
Thank you, Sandra.
Fight the forces of nature.
Good luck with that. Thank you, Isaac. Did any of our board members have any additional questions for Isaac? No? Okay, thanks again. Moving on to item number 21, a motion to approve the department reports. We all had a chance to read through everything that was submitted to us. Did anybody have any comments on any of the reports that we received? The only comment, I have a few, with Parks and Rec. I know we're gonna get to that, but there's a lot that we'll say about Sarah and the team for what she's doing, as far as trying to keep somewhat normalcy around here, and I know we'll get into that a little bit later. The police, after reviewing. I see our chief is here. After reviewing Chief Duffy's reports, there was a lot of positive comments in this section that just, people going above and beyond and baking things for the police department and thanking them, and, requesting that we don't defund our police, and we have no intention. I know Commissioner Carter has gotten some emails about that as well. And we have no desire to do that. We want to improve our police, and we're looking to hire, like we said. So there's nothing with that we'll be doing as far as defunding our police. We agree with all the residents that wrote in all the positive notes to the police.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Oh, well, thank you, Chief Duffy. We appreciate everything, as you know, that you and your department are doing. So, and obviously a lot of the residents do as well. And so we appreciate that. So with that, if there were no further comments on any of the reports, do we have a motion to approve the department reports filed by the township staff?
I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Uh,
Go ahead.
Guys never see me. Just a few comments. Number one, I'd like to thank Sarah for all of her hard work, not only her report, but all the work that she's been doing. The fair this past weekend was extremely well run. A lot of people there, but they kept it under control. It was really nice. So I'd like to thank Sarah, Rebecca, and her report. All of the reports are very clear and concise, easy for me to understand. I'd like to thank Isaac and REM because they give addresses on their report. So when I'm driving around looking at all the properties, it makes it very easy for me to find them. So I appreciate that. On the, I'm sorry, 1 second. Is anybody here from EEM Engineers? Their report?
No.
No, EMA doesn't generally come to the meetings, but we can certainly pass on anything you wanted to say, or I can possibly answer any questions you had, Commissioner Carter.
It was just, I had a few questions because it was hard for me to follow their report in comparison to Van's report. So I just had a couple of questions. I can ask you later. It was just very difficult to follow their Vans and REM are much easier to follow in terms of what's going on and the explanations that they give. That was it. Yeah, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, do we have a motion to approve the department reports?
I'll make a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hall, seconded by Commissioner Damsker.
Yes.
Do we have any additional public comment?
No public comment.
The additional board comment? No. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes so have it. Moving on to item number 22 on the agenda. It's just an announcement that Dave Brill touched on a bit ago about our budget work sessions. We have 3 scheduled. The first one will be on Tuesday, October 13th, 2020 at 5 p.m. Second, Thursday, October 22nd, 2020 at 6 p.m. And the third one, if needed, on Thursday, October 29th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Sandra, these will be held in the public meeting room, correct?
Yes, we are advertising them as virtual or in person so that we can leave that decision up as time progresses. So I can't guarantee that they'll be in person. We'll probably need to talk about that a little bit further, but we could hold them in person and we could also hold them virtually. But if we do hold them in person, absolutely they will be in the public meeting room.
Okay, and virtual or in the public meeting room, like you said, residents will know how to join in and listen in on that, because that's important to get that input from our residents during budget. Okay, thank you, Sandra. With that, next on the item on the agenda, I'll turn it over to Commissioner. I feel like I already turned it over to you once, but I'll turn it over to you second time, to Commissioner Hull.
Thank you. I'll be brief. So Merck is asking for some extended hours for either this coming weekend, October 9th through the 11th, or the 16th through the 18th. They are using a specialty contractor for this and they haven't nailed that down, so they wanted that option. They have recently installed some steam piping, and with steam piping, you need to do a flushing of that to get all of the, to remove the internal piping debris that goes along with that. So this can be a loud process. So this is something that they are doing after hours. And they did this back in 2018, in April of 2018, and they were able to manage it well enough that they feel like even though it can be a loud process, it won't be a problem with the public. And in this specific case, this is where these pipes are located. There are 2 buildings it's in the middle of two buildings, that they feel like that will buffer a lot of the noise. Regardless, they are ready to work with Chief Duffy if there are any noise complaints from the community. So with that being said, I would like to make a motion to approve the Merck and Company waiver request from Chapter 113-1 and 124-5 for extended work hours on Gate 3 utility rack, weekends of October 9th through the 11th or October 16th through the 18th of 2020. A reminder that only one of those weekends is actually needed.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I don't know who got that one. Commissioner Similaro. Any additional public comment on that?
There's no public comment.
Okay, any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes still have it.
Our next line item we no longer need to have, but since we have a few people who wanted to make a public comment, I will just give you a little bit of background. WB Homes had a plan, a land development plan that they shared with the neighbors, and they got some feedback from the neighbors, and they have decided that they are no longer going to request the variance that was scheduled for September 22nd at the zoning hearing board meeting. They're doing this by requesting a continuance. So that doesn't mean that they're completely pulling their application. It just means they are pulling it from the next week's meeting, the September 22nd meeting, and they will have 30 days to let us know if they want to apply it to another meeting. Having talked to WB Homes about this quite extensively, they are anxious to make some efforts to compromise with the residents who had some specific concerns. One of which was the stormwater plan that they had with a basin. They feel like there may be a way that they can create a stormwater plan that will comply with our regulations, but will not need a basin. And they also are going to look into, instead of creating apartments, creating perhaps townhouses. If they do have a new plan, they're going to need to start from scratch, go back to our plan review committee, go through all the process again. So it will be a whole new process. And it will take some time for them to come up with that plan they have set. So they're kind of in the exploratory phase right now. So that being said, we don't need to make a decision about sending our solicitor either way to that zoning hearing board meeting. We just had it left on the agenda until today to take it off. And with that, are there some public comments?
Yes, I'll bring AJ in.
Thank you.
Okay, AJ's in the call.
Thank you very much. We just wanted to say with the zoning hearing continuance, we have no further comment at this time. However, we would like to thank Commissioner Hull for reaching out to the neighboring residents and addressing and listening to our concerns.
AJ, could you state your name and address for the record, please?
I can. AJ Cardamone, 1156 Canterbury Drive.
Thank you, AJ. And I agree. I know Commissioner Hull has gone way out to try to work with everybody on this. So thank you for that comment.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll be bringing in James. Okay, James is in the call.
Yes, I just reiterate what Allison mentioned and appreciate all the assistance from the various commissioners. So thanks for all your effort.
James, could you state your full name and address for the record, please?
It's James McMullen, 1163 Canterbury Drive.
Thanks for taking the time to call in, James, and to listen and to and for your comment.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Okay, that was the last caller.
Okay, great. So then we're done with this and ready to move on. Commissioner McNaney.
Okay, so with that, let's move on to public safety item. Starting with item number 25, we have Commissioner Carter.
Hello. Number 25, motion to ratify and approve the emergency declarations dated August 17th, August 24th, August 31st, September 8th, and September 14th.
So we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Damsker. Any additional public comment?
No public comment.
Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes so have it. Catherine, for the next one, before you start, could we make sure that we have the representatives from the fire department in on this?
I'll be bringing them in right now.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Eric.
Good evening.
Hi,
Good
Eric.
evening.
Good evening.
Eric, you're muted.
Yes, ma'am. There we go.
Before we start, I'd like to thank Chief Geiger for giving me a front row seat to the fireworks on Saturday night.
Absolutely.
Item number 26, we have a motion to approve the purchase of the Rosenbauer Rescue Engine Squad and Rosenbauer 78 Quint for a total of $1,616,527. CoStar's contract number 013-112. This calls for a roll call.
Deanna, roll call vote.
Do we need a second?
Yeah, I'm going to do that in a second. So we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Hull. Any public comment? Any additional board comment? Hearing none. Roll call.
President McNaney,
Aye.
Vice President Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Similaro,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker,
Aye.
So the ayes so have it. Gentlemen, a few things before we let you go. One, you'll let us know when you're meeting with the builders so that we can try to come in and listen and see how this process goes.
Yes, absolutely.
And I have a few other things, but I wanted to know if you were going to hang out now or go to your meeting. Are you going to end this call now when we're done with this? Or are you going to stay on?
Oh, we can stay on.
It's no big deal. I just, actually, you know what? I'll do it now while you're on.
Sure.
Just real quick, everybody. We're going to be talking about our newsletter that we have. And the fire department, I'm giving you guys a plug here, has a nice little article in here about volunteers. So I had, I wanted to let you guys talk a little bit more about that you're always searching for new members, that there's no prior experience or training. All training and equipment is provided by you guys. And to visit the fire department's website at ugfd.org to learn more. I think what's important too about what makes our fire department program to volunteer with us so unique is the stipend program that we have set up where individuals, after they volunteer with us for a certain amount of time, can sign up for some shifts to be on so that calls can be answered quicker. And I think it's a great program. And the stipend, if I understand it correctly, which we're trying to do as Eric and Greg know, when we're working with you to understand it more, that the stipend program is reimbursement for food and mileage. Could, for all of our people listening, I think we have 20 participants listening, but you never know. 20 people on the call, I should say. If there's somebody out there that might know somebody that might want to come and volunteer with you all, could you explain the stipend program just a little bit more to everybody?
Yes, President McNaney, I appreciate it. Thanks for the plug there. But our stipend program is set up for exactly how you said, a reimbursement directly for food and drink and things like that during our shifts. An average NFPA puts out statistics on an annual basis, and an average response time for the initial first piece of apparatus out on a volunteer organization is usually between 7 and 9 minutes. That's a good response according to the National Fire Protection Agency, which is the agency that governs all the standards that we live by. We average in 2019 during stipend shifts from 45 seconds to 1 minute and 15 seconds. Obviously, as you can all imagine, 5 to 6 minutes, and I'm sure we've seen any day or any time in our childhood growing up, listening to fire prevention talks or whatever, we've seen how fast fire can spread. So 5 to 6 minutes getting on scene faster than a normal standard, an acceptable standard at that, according to NFPA. We really take pride in that. So while it's a very small number in the grand scheme of things, that stipend reimbursement, just for statistical purposes, last year in 2019, we were able to cover with the volunteers in this program the equivalent of 11 full-time firefighters for the entire year. That's really a significantly big number when you talk about a paid salary, benefits, and everything else. We were able to do that with the volunteers inside these 4 walls. So and we certainly cannot do that without the support of U5 and of course of Sandra as a township manager and absolutely Dave Brill with the finance stuff. So we really appreciate you guys and the support that we've gotten. And I can speak for Greg and the rest of the members of Upper Gwynedd Fire Department that this was a monumental and significant evening for us, and we really appreciate your support. So we look forward to the next stages. Those next stages are going to be a lot of intense work when it comes to the pre-construction builds and things like that. But those meetings, as soon as we get them nailed down, I'm sure the brokers maybe even watching this meeting as we speak. He'll be calling me in an hour. We'll get those meetings set up and we'll get those dates out to you. So thank you all again. And I hope I answered what questions you were looking for.
Yeah, I think the stipend program is a great thing, and that may attract or may not, but I appreciate your answer, especially because I gave you no heads up that I was going to do that. But I was here at the township building and I saw this. I'm like, oh, I should ask them. As a second, and lastly, I just wanted to clarify. At the last meeting in August, I said that if my house is on fire, I don't care who shows up, and I want to clarify that. I don't care who shows up because I know you're all so well trained and qualified. Not only Upper Gwynedd Fire Department, but the other fire departments in the area that may have to respond for one reason or another, that you're all qualified and professional and able to do the job. And so I just wanted to clarify that with everybody. And again, we appreciate everything and you keeping us safe, especially on Saturday night when there were a few little ambers that fell, but luckily not on Parkside Playground.
Nothing too important. Well, thank you very much, President McNaney. We really appreciate that.
All right, well, go have your champagne now, and we'll see you guys soon.
Sandra, we'll see you in the morning.
Thank you guys for everything. We really appreciate all the hard work that you guys have put in to help us through.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
Have a
Thank
good
you. All right, moving right along. Next on the agenda, item number 27. I'll turn it over to, there she is, to Commissioner Damsker.
Yes. Hi, good evening, everyone. Yes, under Public Works, I'd like to make a motion to approve the second final payment to Bi-State Construction for the Sumneytown Pike Bridge project for the amount of $10,785.70. And I believe we need a roll call vote.
We do. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any public comment on that?
No public comment.
Okay, any additional board comment? Okay, roll call vote.
President McNaney,
Aye.
Vice President Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Similaro,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker,
Aye.
The ayes so have it. Thank you, Deanna.
Yeah, and now I have something under Parks and Rec where I would like to accept resignation from Eric Hansen from the Norgwin Pool Commission, and I want to thank him for the time that he spent on the commission.
So there's a motion.
That's to accept, yes, to accept the resignation of Eric Hansen.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes so have it.
And then I have one last thing under Parks and Rec that I would like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Francis Gillian to the Norgwin Pool Commission.
So we have a motion to approve Francis Gillian to the Pool Commission. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a second. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Any additional board comment?
Can I just say something?
Sure.
I just wanted to say that I know that Ginny, who does so much for our pool and works so hard, is very excited to have this person come on board to the pool committee. She's excited because this person is going to bring some financial expertise. And as Ginny wears every hat with the pool, including finance, as well as operations, as well as anything you could dream of, she can really use some help with some of the financial things, as well as the other experience that Francis is bringing, just the general knowledge of the pool and the pool staff. And she's just really excited to have this person come on board. So I had a conversation with Ginny about it last week, and I just wanted to share that. Thank you, Commissioner McNane.
Thank you, Commissioner Hull. Yes, Mrs. Zolt does wear a lot of hats over there at that pool. So with that said, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes so have it. Seventh inning stretch here. Everybody can get up and walk around because Martha has a lot on her agenda tonight. I'm just kidding about the stretch. So without further ado, Commissioner Similaro, are you ready?
I'm ready. Thank you very much. I'd like to make a motion to approve payment number 10 to Pact One for the pump station and force main project in the amount of $837,274.86. And we need a roll call vote on that one.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any additional, any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, any additional board comments? Hearing none. Deanna?
President McNaney,
Aye.
Vice President Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Similaro,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker,
Aye.
The ayes so have it.
The
Thank
next
you.
motion is to approve payment number 17 to Blooming Glen for the hydraulic expansion project in the amount of $97,478.29. And we need a roll call vote on that one also.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hall. Any additional public comment?
No public comment.
Board comment? Hearing none. Deanna?
President McNaney,
Aye.
Vice President Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Similaro,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker,
Aye.
The ayes so have it. Thank you, Deanna.
The next one is a motion to approve payment number 10 to Eastern Environmental Contractors for the hydraulic expansion project in the amount of $63,882. And this is also a roll call vote, please.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Catherine beat you to that one. Seconded by Commissioner Carter. Any additional board or public comment?
No public comment.
Board comment? Hearing
I
none.
have a question.
Oh, there you go.
I
Yep.
have a question. I meant to call you over the weekend, Martha. Maybe it's just for my own education, Lauren. Why are there, if it's for the same type hydraulic expansion, why are there different contractors?
I can actually answer that. So for the hydraulic expansion project, we have many different types of contractors, but there's two main categories in the contract. One part is electrical, and the other part is for just the expansion. So for this one, for Eastern Environmental, they, I might flake because I have a sinus infection, but I think Eastern is our regular contractor. And then we also have an electrical contractor. So no, Blooming Glen is our regular. Yes, Blooming Glen is our regular. Eastern is our electrical. Sorry. Sinuses are like, that's all I can feel. So we have two different contractors, just like on the WIP expansion of the force main, we have BSI and PAC. Did I answer your question, Commissioner Carter? Sure.
Thank you.
So the next, do we?
Oh, yeah, no, we just do a roll call vote.
Oh, sorry.
Aye.
Vice President Hall,
Sorry, aye.
Commissioner Simularo,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker.
Aye.
Yeah, I so have it. Thank you.
So our next motion is to approve the time extension requested by Eastern Environmental Contractors as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic for the wastewater treatment plant hydraulic expansion project. And that's, like you said before, Catherine, that's the electrical part. Unfortunately, they had to stop the work in March due to COVID, and we allowed them to resume the work in June. So they're asking for an 80-day extension of their contract by changing the contract completion date to November 7th, 2020. And it does not, it really doesn't affect the extension of the WIP timeline for the project completion.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any additional public comment?
No public comment.
Board comment? Hearing none, all in
You said
favor?
November, Martha?
They'll be, they're projecting November, I think it was November 7th, 2020.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, I so have it.
So the next motion is to reject two bids received for the Sweetsford and Britt Road manhole upgrades. We had two contractors bid on them. Unfortunately, both bids were decided to be non-responsive. One came in late, not by the date and time specified, and the other contractor did not attend the mandatory bid meeting. So the motion is to reject the two bids from these two contractors.
So we have a motion to reject the two bids received. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any additional public comment?
No public comment.
Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes so have it.
Now, Catherine has her hand up.
Oh, I thought she was frozen.
Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry,
No.
Catherine. Did you were you frozen?
Were you frozen?
No, I have a question.
Oh, okay. I thought you were I thought you were saying aye and then you froze.
I did. I'm not frozen on my side, so I don't know what you guys are seeing. So I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Okay, so the next motion is to reauthorize the advertisement of the bid for the Swedesford and Britt Road manhole upgrades.
So we have a motion to reauthorize the advertisement for the bid. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
A second by Commissioner Carter. Any additional public comment?
No public comment.
Any additional board comment? No. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes so have it.
Okay, the next motion is to approve advanced rehabilitation technology, ART, to complete the chimney seals and spray lining via the CoStar's contract number 380975.
So we have,
I'm sorry.
no, you want to say more? Go ahead. Yay.
Yes. This was approved in the budget for 2020. So this does not affect the budget, and it would cost approximately $70,000, and that is part of the budget for 2020.
Okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Any additional board comment? No. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes so have it.
The next motion is to appoint Dave Nassiter at Obermayer as the bond counsel for the financing of the WIP project. We had discussed this previously, and if we need to borrow money either through bond or bank loan, we would have to get and this is for the bond counsel, we'd have to get a counsel to do that. And we had talked about it. We got bids in, we received bids, and we decided on Dave Nassiter of Obermayer for the bond counsel.
So we have a motion to appoint Dave as our bond counsel for financing the WIP project. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes so have it.
And the last motion is to appoint PFM as the township's, financial advisor for financing of the WIP project. Just like the one before, this was also previously discussed. We did receive bids, and we decided on, whoops, hold on a second about that. My screen just froze up. And we decided on PFM as the township's financial advisor for financing of the WIP project.
So we have a motion to appoint PFM as a township's financial advisor. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any additional public comment?
No public comment.
Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes so have it. Now have a big drink of water there, Martha. That was a lot. There you go. Thank you, Commissioner Similero. Last but not least, under other business, I think we do have a few comments regarding other activities going on at the township that we haven't covered this evening. So Commissioner Hull, did you want to start?
Yes, I'll be brief because we've been going a long time. I just wanted to say, we've already talked about this tonight. Commissioner McNaney brought it up. Our lovely township newsletter. We had to cancel it earlier this year in the spring because the whole calendar got canceled. But luckily we have some activities back. And this newsletter, I've been getting so many compliments about it. It has a completely different feel to it. It's really easy to read. It's very informative, and it's just, it's really well done. And I know that all of our department chairs, everybody participates and makes this so great, but I really have to do a shout out to Deanna Logan, because she puts her sweat, blood, and tears into this puppy. And she did such an amazing job with it. Thank you so much, Deanna. We can't thank you enough. And I also wanted to
Deanna.
Sorry, didn't want to cut off the praise, Deanna. It's going long. But the other thing I wanted to say, just a couple things. As you can imagine, this goes to print way in advance of you actually receiving it. There have been a couple changes, especially now with COVID and things changing all the time. One is the census. The census has made the decision that they are the deadline. They have moved it up from October 31st to September 30th. So you need to get your census in by September 30th. This is money. This translates as money for all of us. So please, please, please do your census if you have not already. And also, I'm picking up the pace. Here I am picking up the pace. With the Park and Rec Department, so wonderful. We can't say enough good things about Sarah Previs and her staff and Angelina and all the great stuff that they do. They have special events. We cannot do the Fall Fest this year because it just doesn't work with 1,000 people coming here. So even though it's listed that we're having the Fall Fest, we are not having it. But if you look right next to it, you'll see that the car show, that's the concert and fireworks, that's already passed. That was last week's event. That was kind of like what we did instead of doing the Fall Fest. And we're also going to have a night in October where we are going to have we're going to have a movie show where you can come in and do drive-in movies, stay in your car, and you can watch the Addams Family movie. And younger kids can do a hayride early in the evening. Older kids can do a scary one a little bit later. So that's coming up. That's another replacement for Fall Fest. And also we're going to eliminate the bingo that was supposed to happen in November. Sarah said she's hoping for it to happen in the spring. So how fun. We'll have one in the spring and in the fall next year. But just so you know, those two things were listed because it went to print before we had to make the official decision. Okay, that's all I had to say about it. Thanks.
Are there any other comments from any of the commissioners about anything?
I just want to plug the shredding event.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Okay. Do you have that information, Martha?
It is on September 26th for residents only. But you can also bring electronics. There'll be a fee, but at least you can bring electronics. If you have some old TVs or monitors hanging around, you can always bring electronics. They'll charge you a little bit, but at least you can get rid of them.
Properly too.
Properly, yes.
And that starts at 9 a.m.?
9 o'clock.
Yeah, here at the Township building.
Martha, do you have to register for that?
No, just drive up and have your identification that you're a resident of Upper Gwynedd, and you can drop and you could basically bring all your shredding and whatever else you have.
And just one point, resident of Upper Gwynedd means that you live in Upper Gwynedd Township. So sometimes we get people that, I know that sounds crazy, but we get people that say like, I live in Lansdale, or I live in North Willsboro. You really have to be a person that pays taxes in Upper Gwynedd Township to qualify as our resident.
And I'm looking for this kind of ball.
I'm sorry.
I think we just have some carryover sound from someone else's Zoom. Sometimes that happens in the world of Zooming.
Thank God that's all it was. I just want to thank Sarah too. I was at the car show on Saturday afternoon, lovely day, and then came back at night for the fireworks. And Sarah was just running around like the Energizer bunny nonstop, just zipping around, making sure, everything was going smoothly. And a lot of people said, well, they might not have seen the fireworks because they didn't come to the complex. They did hear them. So that's good. So with that, is there anything else that anybody wants to add? Hearing nothing, meeting adjourned. Oh, did you have something?
Sorry, I just wanted to add, I know, Sarah does an amazing job and she's totally responsible for all the great planning that goes into those events. But I know if Sarah was here, she would turn and pivot and also thank all of our awesome public works employees and park and rec employees that are there all day too, to make all the parking work and help direct people to the correct areas and help keep us safe with keeping our numbers correct for all the rules and regulations now. So we had a ton of employees on site that day and they all did a great job. Just wanted to point that out.
And they all had their masks on and they were all working really hard as well, parking the cars, making sure we had enough. So yes, it was, it showed a lot of, the event had a lot of pride from everybody in there. So it was a nice day.
And also, when I went to the park this morning at 8 o'clock, it was spotless.
Yeah.
The Public Works did a great job in cleaning everything up, and it looked great. It was really good.
So with that, meeting adjourned. Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.